Welcome to my video today. So, going with the style of this is free flowing. I'm talking to you as if we're having a conversation, you know, face to face, okay? I want to start off by saying, let's dig into the topic. Okay, let's dig into this is what I want to dig into this concept of hiding. Whenever I'm sharing something, generally it comes from my pondering of my own circumstance and what I'm clicking here and now in my world. I just went to the Alanis Morissette concert. Alanis Morissette, her Jagged Little Pill album was huge when I was a teen, and I was going through like some of the hardest stuff imaginable. I was pretty reckless, and it was the beginning of a long journey of self-sabotage, addiction, and all these different things. Not her album, but this time of my life. So recently, my oldest daughter bought tickets for me and most of our daughters and close friends to go, our daughters, my daughters, okay, to go to the concert. And she gifted this experience to us. It was so profound in the most quiet, strangest way, because what I was clicking is that, holy crap, all of these parts of myself that I was like, stay away from, ixnay, she's dangerous, she's wild, she's crazy, which sometimes she was. I got to re-experience those things and feel them. And then as I was processing, I realized that it hasn't been that long since I've really deeply suppressed myself and my expression. I used to show up on social media like Facebook and all of these different things. I shared my family, I shared our vision, I shared what we were doing, I shared everything. So I started pondering, I'm like, what is this? Like, when did this hiding start? So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about hiding. When did this start? So I started really pondering and looking back, and it really seemed to be that 2020 was COVID, right? An initial jolt, or the initial jolt that initiated, and I'm talking about myself because whenever I ponder something bigger, I start by pondering it myself first, and then I look out, is this relevant to the wider community and yada, 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 yada. So I believe it is. So I'm looking at myself and I'm like, wow, 2020, you can see in my social media, I stopped sharing as much photos of my family. I stopped going as deep into my conversations, like being real like I am here. I used to do this all the time, right? So it's like, what the heck was that about? For a long time, I dismissed the 2020 COVID changes because I gave birth 2 days after the shutdown. And I know that every time you have a baby, I've given birth 7 times, it does something, right? It changes you. You're going to go through some sort of initiation, weird stuff, postpartum depression, like all sorts of stuff can happen. So I kind of attributed 2020 more to the birth than actual what's happening in the world and, the cause and effect of a massive world shutdown, right? It's kind of a big deal. So I started looking at it and looking at my own stuff and seeing like, holy crap, I changed how I showed up. I started coming on different. I started coming on guarded. I mean, we had to be guarded because all of a sudden there's this new thing introduced to our world, and there's a split. There's a split in, who's going to choose this and who's going to fight this, and this massive split. What is the cause and effect of that split even, right? And of course, you guys probably look at me and decide what side of that split I was on, right? Because I have dreads and live on a farm and all of those things. But the thing is, I'm now pondering and I'm looking at some of the things in my own center. Okay, so here's something. I asked myself, Shelley, do you believe your children are at risk if you show vulnerably your world and your life online? Do I believe my children are at risk? No. Why? Because yes, in some ways we can talk about grooming and we can talk about all those things, but guess where the biggest risk is and continues to be even now in 2026 for children? The biggest safety risks for children are in the home, in the family, in the community, in the churches, in all of those areas that nobody's looking at or pointing at. That has not changed since 2020. So I'm like looking around and on social media, and I'm seeing, people sharing pictures of their kids with hearts over their face. And I get it. You don't want to show your kid's face on social media, and you're fearful that they might get cloned into weird things or done weird things. And I totally get that. But when I explore that personally, when I explore how I feel about that personally, I'm like, dude, I'm more worried about what's happening in real life to my kids. I can teach my kids how to navigate the interwebs and the space. And if someone wants to take a photo off the internet and do something weird to it, or if somebody, snaps a photo of my kid out in public, I can't control that. So, anyways, why I'm sharing this is because I'm not really afraid of those things. And I think, and I want to ponder this, in our hiding or this fear of this external world, are we missing things right here in the here and now that we should be looking at and paying attention to, right? So these are some of the things that I've been thinking about. So for me, when I think about sharing my kids online and social media, I'm not afraid of what people are going to do with their stuff. So let's say even the worst of the worst. Somebody took my kid's face and made some, you know, distorted, disgusting, whatever. I'm going to tell you my opinion on that. It's not that I wouldn't care. No, that's not it. It's not that I'm like, oh, I don't care. That's no big deal. No, I do deeply care. That is deeply disturbing and disgusting and terrible. But at the same time, it's not linked to my child's actual identity. It's not in her actual world or his actual world or in my actual world. And if we caught it, we'll take care of that and whatever. Does that make sense? That's not going to rock my life like if something or when something happens in real life, right? And that's what I'm saying. As this mass fear and hysteria is happening and we're scared out here, what's happening here? What's happening in our real world, right? I was a family preservation worker and I've worked with hundreds of clients. There's a lot of problems in the house, in the home, and it's easier to look outside. So that's one aspect of this conversation I wanted to have. But then the second aspect is censoring ourselves, censoring what we have to say, what we really feel, how we show up, right? This unconscious fear, and I do believe it's deeply subconscious. I do believe the effects of 2020 are deeply imprinted and embedded inside of us. And it's almost like for me personally, and maybe you watching this, it's like I'm coming out of this, whatever the heck we want to call it. And the way that I believe it showed up for many, there's many people who have completely come offline. And you know what? You can come offline. It's no big deal, right? If social media is something that's toxic for you, you're not living your life and you're just like, you're hooked in to these platforms, by all means, right? But if they're used as an extension of self, which the online world is, that's what the online world does, is it gives an extension of our work and our voice and our mission out. But if we're afraid and if we're censoring and if we're holding back, that means that people aren't really able to experience us. And that's where I'm at today, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to show my family, my kids. I'm going to make sure they give me consent. I'm not going to share something without them saying, yeah, mom, I'm cool with this. Because to me, that's what's important when it comes to the children. Are my kids okay? Do they give me their consent? Because their consent and their agreement is more important to me than what people might do with something, okay? So if we take this back to ourselves and you look and ask yourself, look pre-2020 and now, are there things in your life and ways that you express yourself that's changed? Probably, yeah, because we're all changed from that experience. And again, I'm not judging anything. I'm not saying good, bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in that fight. But what I am interested in is having this conversation of, okay, there were real effects of those 2 years and we're still coming out of them and we're just babies in figuring out what the long-term imprint of that time was on each of us. So when we think about, have I been hiding? Okay. Now, for many people in this 2020 time, things came crashing down. Relationships, friendships, anything that was false didn't have to stand anymore because we could all kind of recluse and go inwards. We didn't have to engage with the world. So there were a lot of things that happened during this time that I believe are very useful. But I think what I want to present here is maybe it's time to come back. Maybe it's time to really address what the fear is that's holding us back, right? What are we afraid of from, coming forward? Now, are we shameful of things that went wrong in our past? Are we shameful of where we fell short in our world, in our business, in our friendships, in our family? Because I'm going to tell you something. If we're shameful, we're stuck. We're screwed. And not only can we not do something for ourselves, but we can't help others who could really use the wisdom that we have. Every single human on this planet has shame. And in my hypnosis sessions, one of the biggest things that we're going to dig into is shame. We need to get to the root of where that shame pattern is expressing and where it lives inside of you so that you can let it the heck go and move forward. Now, sharing this is something that you guys know if you're on my channel, I pondered over and over and over again. Now, true sidereal astrology, I'm going to jump for a second, means that we read astrology based on what's happening in our actual sky. And at the time of recording this, we just had a new moon in the sign, in the actual placement of the sky, okay, in Gemini. So this new moon, which we're still in it, so if you're watching this right when I recorded it, we're being asked to plant the seeds for communication, for expression, for putting ourselves out there into the world. Now, most of Western astrology says the new moon was in Cancer, which is completely not actually what's happening in the sky. Okay, you can check out my other videos on true sidereal astrology if you want to learn more about that. You can check out your birth calendar to find out where the planets actually were in the sky when you were born, if you're interested. But I say that and I bring that up because I really believe this conversation that I'm having is timely. And that if you're here right now and you're watching this, really looking into those things of where am I holding myself back? Where am I scared? Where am I hiding? Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. When you break through your shame, you allow other people to break through their shame. Anyone that you owe something to, that you've hurt, that you've done things to, I'm going to tell you straight up, those people too have done things and expressed themselves in ways that are not aligned. And they too carry shame, and they too carry their own stories, and they too carry everything. And I don't say this because this should be about pointing fingers at other people, but free yourself. Free yourself. This is where we're at. And I'm setting the intention now that as I'm speaking, my voice is getting inside of your subconscious, okay? Hypnosis does not need to be a deep experience. Hypnosis is when we're listening to somebody and we're letting the words penetrate beyond just our mind. We're feeling the words. We're feeling them in our heart. We're feeling them in our body. We're allowing ourselves to shift as we're watching something. So if you've made it to 13 minutes and 28 seconds, you are shifting, okay? You can identify right now where that shame feeling for you, or that wanting to hide, or that fear is sitting in your body, and you can choose to move it out. You can pull it out. You can literally, everything is energy. Whatever's stored in our body is energetic, okay? Of course, we have our organs and our, the physical matter, but that shame isn't generally physical, it's energetic. That fear isn't generally physical, it's energetic. So if you can locate on yourself, where the heck is this inside of me? Where do I feel it? You can feel it and you can pull it out and you can say, here, God, Spirit, Source, Creator, Universe, Goddess, whatever you connect to, just ask for it to be transmuted and to be let go. Okay? Because we need to come forward. And again, this isn't about, I am not somebody who's like Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. I think all of that is, people can be there if they want to be there, but we're essentially fighting for, we're fighting for something that's here when we can create from here. Does that make sense? I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't be interested in what's happening in your world, in your community, and pick what you support. You do that. But also remember, it sits here and you're a human and you have the potential to tap in here. You have the potential to go up above this level in consciousness, and not from a this is better place, because people get stuck here when they go up and they think they're better or they think they're above. You're still creating on this plane. You still have to live your life and walk on this plane. So if you're going to come up here to this level of consciousness and think that you get to float in the clouds and not operate here, you're missing the point of this whole life, and you'll never shift what's happening here. Does that make sense? I don't want to get too much, but for those of you who get it, you get it. We come up here and we see, and we're like, okay, this is where I can see clearly from here. Now we can make our choices and bring them down here and operate day to day in this world with that knowledge, okay? So that's when we think about it and we look at, okay, so let's look at shame and let's look at fear and all of those things. I don't believe, and again, this is my opinion. This is how I perceive and feel it. This isn't how I've been taught. This is how I see it, okay? Fear, shame, guilt. I don't know why I'm holding my cup. I'm just like holding my cup as I'm talking. Okay, fear, game, all of this stuff is down here. It's actually below operating consciousness, okay? It's down here. So when we are making choices and decisions from here, and they come up and act out here in the physical reality, that's when life gets really hard and really bad, and it's really not good. But if we go up here where we see above and we see beyond those things, we see, the things that we've done with compassion and understanding. We're in a human journey. We didn't have the tools. We didn't have the know-how. We just didn't, or we just didn't choose. Right? And that's okay. It's okay that we didn't choose right when we knew it was right. We chose wrong. But we get to choose in this moment what it is that we truly want and what direction we want to go to and where we want to create from. So whatever's happening here in your life, there's going to be problems and issues and things that are here, right? And from this level, it could be very hard to see your way out. And from this level, oh good Lord, you think you're doomed, right? This is where we fall into, deeper things. But if we come up and we view our human life and like, ooh, I've created some problems, but oh, what do we know from up here? You know what we know from up here? I'm sweating like crazy. It's hot and I have to record before it gets too hot. But what we know from up here is that there's no problem that can't be solved here. There's no problem that can't be solved here. I'm talking, like, let's say you committed the worst crime in the world and you're hiding this shame and yada, 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 yada. You're like, there's no way I can ever find a solution to this. Yeah, there is. There is a way out. It takes honesty, it takes truth, and there's going to be consequences probably. But you come clean with something, and then what happens next? You got to just move through the steps and the processes, okay? There's always a solution to every problem. Now, I've had this because from coming from a history of being someone who sabotaged, lied, cheated, stole, all those things, right? If you're in addiction of any sorts, you also participate in all of those things. And no judgment. It's just part of what happens when we're overtaken by something external and we don't want to be here, okay? So there's no judgment when we say that. But when you come out of it, what often can happen is this thing called radical truth. Radical truth becomes, oh boy, you're making people really uncomfortable because you're now saying and admitting and saying, hey, I did this. What do I do now? And sometimes people don't even know what to do. But there's always a path and there's always a solution for what needs to be worked out. So if you can take those problems in your life that are here, that are right now real, like maybe your debt is huge and you're swallowed in bankruptcy, or things are, or your relationships are terrible. You've created a mess and you've done bad things and, people are never going to be able to trust you again, whatever. Okay. So you got all this stuff here, or maybe you're just whatever your problem is. Okay. It doesn't matter. Take it here and come look up here and then look down at your problem. And you're like, ooh, okay, I need to be honest. Or I need to do something different. I need to show up different here. Oh, I need to make phone calls. I need to call whoever I need to call to fix a solution. But any problem here that you're dealt with, if you come at it with there's no problem that can't be solved, and you hold that, even though when you're scared, poopless, dealing with the stuff that you have to deal with, it's going to work out. It's going to work out in some way, shape, or form. So back to the beginning of this conversation about hiding. Okay? Hiding comes from when, well, we're scared and we're shameful. So I feel like where we kind of gone in this conversation is if you look at the things in your life right now that you believe are telling you that you can't show up. Okay, I've worked with a lot of women. I've mentored a lot of women. I've had issues in my own relationships, connections, business. You've made mistakes. Maybe you've made big mistakes. You got to keep going. Those people who you've made mistakes with have made mistakes too. It's the truth of the matter. And again, where are you going to live? So if someone's going to live at the level of, you owe me, and they're going to hate you and follow you and try to get from you, okay, they're living here, and guaranteed they're creating from there. So that same person that's chasing you is also being chased. So hope for them, pray that everybody comes into balance. One of the core principles I hold inside of me is I know I owe no one anything and no one owes me anything. So if I'm going to give myself that grace, I have to give everybody else that grace. So if I start focusing on what people owe me or what they need to give me or what they've done, I'm living in that point of consciousness and I'm going to create. If somebody owes me, I bless them. Bless them. Maybe I see, maybe I don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. Only from this level, and I'm living and creating my life from this level, okay? So before I close up this video today, I'm just going to ask you to take a big, deep breath in. If you're here at 21 minutes and 55 seconds, breathe out, okay? And we're just going to set the intention that whatever needs to leave your energy field right now, whatever's ready to go, to be free, to let you stop watching this video and go live your life. Stop watching this video, make a phone call, go do something really hard. Come up to this perspective. See what you need to do and go take some action. And this is how you begin to open the doors. This is how you begin to come out of hiding. Because as you address these things, your frequency, your vibration comes out. It comes out and you'll be able to live in, create from, attract to you, receive the life that you really, truly want. Thank you so much. So at the end of this, if you want to book your own one-on-one session with me, hypnosis session, where we go into your exact specific issues to remove them, clear them, reset your frequency, your energy, your subconscious mind, you can click the link in the video description here, or you can go to my channel main page and click the link there and book with me. And we will do a 90-minute hypnosis session, and you will see some pretty cool things happen. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe.